Support WrestleTalk!
Be friendly in the comments.
What next for Daniel Bryan? I'm Ollie Davis, this is Luke Owen, welcome to WrestleRamble, and after months of us all saying Rusev Day is over, we're behind Rusev Day, chanting Rusev Day in matches that Rusev Day are not even in. WWE finally go, hold my beer. And they put Rusev over. Finally, he's going to the Money in the Bank ladder match representing SmackDown, and it comes at the expense of Daniel Bryan, our most beloved other person. So, it's not all brilliant, but I must say, I'm not down on this angle.
No, so this is a really interesting story that SmackDown are currently running with, which is... I say it's interesting. They're redoing the Daniel Bryan Cinderella story of like he's the little engine that could. He may be little, he may be small, but by golly, he's got heart and he can overcome the big baddies at the end. And I think that is fine. Apart from the fact he's already overcome the big baddie, he did that on Sunday. So this just felt like I was genuinely surprised when Bryan took the pinfall.
Oh yeah,
it's like really, really surprised that he took the pin.
I yelped. I yelped this morning. I did not see that coming. When we're writing notes, we sometimes, rather than write Daniel Bryan versus Rusev as that little section header, sometimes I might make a bold prediction and say that Heath Slater and Rhino are gonna lose to the Authors of Pain.
Yes.
So I'll already write Authors of Pain beat Heath Slater and Rhino. I haven't been wrong yet for that. Here, I must confess, I put Daniel Bryan beats Rusev.
Well, you and I talked about on the podcast outro yesterday, where we were talking about doing like a little mini SmackDown preview, and we were sort of like gave our predictions, and well, I say predictions, we sort of said what we think might happen. And I was like, oh yeah, I could definitely see them putting Miz and Bryan into the Money in the Bank, and then you can have that stare down moment to build towards a SummerSlam match between the two. So then they were in separate matches, and then when Miz won earlier in the night, I was like, yeah, I think that's where they probably are going. And then, then Daniel Bryan lost. And the commentators were really hardcore putting over this idea that Daniel Bryan is a Cinderella story. He's faced adversity. He's finally made his way back to the main roster. And, he's just lost. It's always so close, but never quite there. And also I was like, yeah, but he won on Sunday. So, this doesn't really make any sense. Not only that, I was thinking about this. I didn't mention this in my review because there was so much other stuff ready to talk about. But it also harms the Rusev Day story a little bit as well. Because last week, Lana's whole deal was, hey, do you know what? You could be so much better, but something is holding you back, referring to Aiden English. And then yet here he is this week, with Aiden English at his side, winning. So apparently Aiden English isn't holding him back at all, because he's winning now.
Yeah, not just winning a throwaway match either. He's winning a match with quite huge stakes. He's now in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I'm intrigued. It wasn't like this show ended and I was infuriated.
No.
Oh, what? They're ruining Bryan's character. I was more like, that's really interesting. He sold a lot during the match as well. He sold his ribs. The commentators were putting over that Big Cass really has affected Bryan with that post-match beatdown at Backlash on Sunday, just 2 nights beforehand. And that might be why he's lost a step and he can't get the win. But the problem with that is that it wasn't that big a beatdown.
No.
And it's something that... Who was it that did it much better? Was it Seth Rollins, where he tried to get someone up for the Falcon Arrow? That was the Miz match at Backlash.
Yes.
Where Seth Rollins was selling his knee really, really well. He tries to get Miz up for the Falcon Arrow, and then he collapses. And he can't hit his own move. Daniel Bryan really didn't have any moments like that in this match to really get over. If anything, Rusev was selling his arm more.
His wrist, because he couldn't lock in the accolade because it hurt his wrist too much.
Which is another thing that I thought, at least Rusev is working that into the match, so when he loses, he's almost got an excuse. But that isn't what happened. Bryan won, and it just, like you said, it's a really cool story in this moment, but the build-up and the context leading into it doesn't suit that story.
No.
And it doesn't work. But it couldn't have played better for WWE because the Baltimore crowd were excellent all night. They were super into Daniel Bryan. So you get this wonderful image to close the show. It must have been exactly what they dreamt up in their heads when they were visualizing this storyline. Bryan is sitting broken, dejected on the ring apron, and the crowd are all chanting for Daniel Bryan. Bryan looks sad, and the commentators are saying, is this the end of the Cinderella story, the comeback for Daniel Bryan? It was a really good visual and closing cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But that they got lucky. Really.
Yeah, more or less, yeah. I mean, as I said, I think it's an interesting angle to take Bryan in a sense. I mean, the only reason I kind of retracted on saying it was interesting earlier is because, I mean, they've already done it once. So it's probably less interesting the second time round. But it's interesting in a sense that this is the direction that they are going to go with him. But it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the bigger picture of things because everything since his comeback hasn't really been building to this character. It's just like, oh, hey, this is what we're going to do with Daniel Bryan this week. He's now the underdog and he can't beat big guys. That's the storyline we're now telling. They just changed their mind since Sunday.
And he's really injured after a 7-minute match that he won. And a single big boot beatdown?
Yeah.
And something like that.
And not only won decisively by making Cass tap out within literal seconds of putting him in the move. He was He was David versus Goliath in that role. And the yes lock was the pebble.
And the other problem here is that we're being super down on this. We didn't hate it this much, but it's full of problems.
Yeah.
Is that Daniel Bryan, arguably, I believe, got over in spite of the underdog I'm losing all the time booking.
They forget that.
It wasn't the way WWE booked him that got him over. It was Daniel Bryan that got himself over.
No, mate, do you know, I heard that interview with Road Dogg with JBL. That was what they always intended. They wanted to beat him all the time because that would build to that WrestleMania 30 moment. You bunch of marks, you just don't understand their genius thinking of that really long-term booking of always having Bryan lose because he was over.
It was that genius. He's
going
to lose in 8 seconds to Sheamus. There we go. That was what really set him on this path.
If we just have him lose to Randy Orton one more time, that's what will really get him over.
Yeah, and it's something they tried to replicate with Sami Zayn. That did not work. So I don't want to see But there is an interesting story to tell here. That Bryan has come back from injury and maybe he has lost a step. He's been out for 3 years. It would have made more sense for him to, like you said, show this side to his character in the month so far because he's been very competent. He's gone toe-to-toe with AJ Styles.
I was going to say.
Like you said, beat Big Cass quite handily. And now it's all catching up with him. I guess you can kind of tell that, it was adrenaline.
He was also the Iron Man in the Greatest Royal Rumble.
Yeah, oh my God!
He went from number 1 through to, he was the 3rd person out at the end.
75 minutes or whatever it was. A Royal Rumble record.
But always lost a step. If he hadn't...
I don't know. If he's got what it takes, there's nothing to back up how good he is here.
Yeah. It's an interesting story. It's the wrong... Yeah, they just... I don't know, man. They just chose the wrong time to start telling it.
Yeah. Let's get on with the whole review.
Yeah. It's a SmackDown review, Maggle. I love it. We got us a flying Uso.
Paige here. And she is now every other authority figure you've ever heard open a WWE show in the last year.
She has become SmackDown's Kurt Angle. She came out here to recap Backlash and then announce the matches that we've got. She didn't even announce the matches we've got tonight. She just said, we have some matches and one of them is starting now.
I hate this. I hate this as a TV broadcast format. I think if you're going to do this, this is probably actually quite helpful to run as a dark segment before the show gets going. Paige can be the one to come out there and rile up the crowd. You don't have to script it then. You can just say, by the way, here's the stories throughout the night, here's the matches you're going to see. Almost act as a hype person. I don't have as much faith in Kurt Angle to play that role on Raw, but Paige, she's a good promo. She's a great promo, actually. And here she's given the exact same script, it felt like, as Kurt Angle. Man, Backlash was good, wasn't it? She said with a gun to her back. And then, it's Money in the Bank season now. Oh, and boy, have we got some good matches for you tonight. I'm sorry about the low blow stuff. Didn't see that coming. It's just... It was not Paige's character, and this is not Paige's fault. She did her best. This was not written as a character promo. It was written as a WWE promo, and that is the worst, especially when you've got someone as talented as Paige.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But Paige opened the show, and she said that the first match of this... Because I thought this was quite a wrestling-heavy show, and it's one of the reasons I actually quite liked SmackDown this week. I actually really enjoyed it. And we opened with one of our Money in the Bank qualifiers. It was Jeff Hardy, the United States champion, taking on the man who had the best match at Backlash, The Miz.
Oh, I think you're doing it a disservice there by saying just Backlash, Luke. This is an all-time classic.
Oh,
it's
yes.
a match of the year candidate.
Well, actually, Corey Graves said that Seth versus Miz will be a match that fans will be talking about, quote, for years to come.
But only in the context of it was the best thing about a crappy show.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Because, it was a good match.
Very good.
And I liked the match, but WWE, because they have to hold on to it to get to distance themselves from the PR mess of how bad Backlash was. You know, they're just zeroing in on the one positive part of the show. It's making me dislike the match.
I'm in the same boat.
The match is now a 3-star match in my head.
I was going to say, when he said for years to come, my first thought was, I don't even think we'll be talking about this next month. And as I said, outside of that context of, that was the only good match on that card.
I preferred all 3 Rollins-Balor matches.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway, But I thought this was a really fun match. It went through 2 commercial breaks. There was some cool spots in here, like Jeff doing his run across the barricade to take out Miz, and he did a whisper on the wind off the steps. Really awesome moment when the Miz did like a neck breaker through the ropes.
Yes.
And Hardy cracked his neck on the apron, which looked rough as hell, and it looked really, really cool. And then the finish saw that they got into the ring. Jeff Hardy hit the twist of fate, or he hit the Hardiac arrest first, which is one of the worst punny move names I've heard in recent times. Then hit the twist of fate and the Swanton bomb. But as he got into the pin position, the Miz hoiked him over and got a surprise pin himself.
I love that finish.
I loved it as well. It was a great finish.
I read some people who were down on it because they were like, oh, but, you know, he was just hit by the guy's finisher. How does he have the presence of mind or consciousness to, especially the way Jeff lands on people's lungs, to roll Jeff back from that pinning attempt into a pinning combination of his own? I love this kind of spot. It's the New Japan fan in me, or the Ring of Honor Strong Style fan in me, and it's where one guy will hit you with their finisher and you are effectively knocked out, but you are such a fighter, you have one last Hail Mary and you go for it. And that's, to me, that's what Miz did here. It would have been a lot better if Miz was then, both men were then down for at least a minute afterwards and the crowd can clap. But that isn't what happened. Miz rolled out the ring and started celebrating with his hand up in the air.
Yeah, but he was sat down. It's not like he got up and out of the ring and started parading around. Like
no, man, he was just hit by a finisher. He should be down and selling that. Like he's knocked out, and that was his last gasp.
I could buy into that, yeah.
It doesn't play well with me. That.
Fair enough. But I thought it was a really good match, and I thought it was a really, really great finish. We then come backstage.
Oh, can I ask one thing?
Mm-hmm.
Why does Jeff take his top off?
To hit the Swanton. It's momentum.
That's what I would think. Because the air resistance.
Exactly, yeah. You create more force when you don't have your nice airy t-shirt on.
I like the way the ladies scream. It was a very different pitch.
I know, and it's crazy because I remember that audio that from like 18 years ago when Jeff used to do it in every Hardy Boys match in 2000.
And Lita sometimes.
But then you get a very different scream.
Whoa!
Tits! Anyway, backstage, Sheamus is quietly eating Lucky Charms because he's Irish, you see. So he has to be eating...
Oh, they were Lucky Charms.
Yeah, he even said, these are Lucky Charms.
Oh, not Boutiers.
No.
Yes, okay.
So he was there eating Lucky Charms because he's Irish. And Cesaro was like, why so glum? And it turns out Sheamus was upset because he lost to Xavier Woods last week. A loss meant something to him. And then there's kind of a nice little moment here when Cesaro was like, well, the only reason you lost is because there's one extra member of the New Day out there. We had the numbers disadvantaged against us. Although if I was in the ring, it would have been a different story. And then Sheamus was like, well, why didn't you have a match with him tonight? And Cesaro more or less proved his own point by winning, but we'll come on to that later.
I thought I enjoyed this. But there was a moment there where I thought, is this a bit of dissension? Is this foreshadowing to breaking these two guys up?
perhaps. But they were very much celebrating like friends later on.
Yes,
so like,
totally.
it's not like when Cesaro won, Sheamus was like, damn.
It was such a small moment. If it pays off at all, it'll be something that happens in months. But then it made me think the possibilities of having a separate Sheamus and Cesaro in that mid-card with Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Really good.
We then got a video package. At the end of that segment, Cesaro opened up his gym bag to reveal that there were pancakes inside of it rather than his actual gear, and Sheamus chuckled at that because Cesaro looked like a fool until he opened up his own gym bag, and it was also full of pancakes.
It's the opposite to what you want. You want no carbs.
Exactly.
Especially a lean man like Cesaro.
Absolutely.
It's his worst nightmare.
And apparently Sheamus hates pancakes. We then got a video package for Sanity, getting Emelina vibes from Sanity at the moment. We're now 5 weeks into their... I think this is the 5th week we've had a Sanity arrives soon trailer.
This hasn't grated on me the way Emelina did.
Absolutely not. Well, that was 14 weeks, I remember. I think after a while they just turned it into a gimmick.
Still no Nikki Storm.
Well, no.
Nikki Cross.
Yeah,
sorry.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think very much she's going to be staying down in NXT with them. But maybe... they just keep promoting it as the 3 lads, but maybe they'll change their mind by the time Sanity actually debut. One can hope. Backstage, Renee Young tried to interview Shinsuke Nakamura and said that he's not cleared to wrestle because of the ball situation. And then said, so is this situation with AJ sorted? And Shinsuke Nakamura said, no. Speak English.
Yes.
Very nice. He's still forgotten how to speak the English language.
And Renee was like, well, we know you can speak English because you used to a lot. And then Nakamura goes, I forgot. And it was really good.
It was great. But then he did actually cut a little bit of a promo in English saying that he is not done with AJ Styles. The feud must continue.
Excuse me.
Carmella cut a cell phone promo about how she beat Charlotte Flair, and she's going to celebrate her win in London next week when they come to the O2 Arena for a royal Mellabration, because we're English and we're all about the royal family.
Hey, man, I don't mind. I'm fine with just stereotypical nationalistic nonsense when it comes to wrestling, and I'm really looking forward to how ridiculously over the top this segment will be.
I hope they have like mock members of like the royal family, because I actually miss the days when WWE used to put like British stuff on the ramps. They used to have like a taxi cab and a red phone box.
It wasn't there last year.
No, I know. I think they've stopped doing it now because that shows character, and that's not what the company wants to have anymore.
Or it's fallen under the same accounting bracket as Pyro.
Yeah, it's just lost in a warehouse somewhere.
I think that all the things she could do. There's a lot of rich stuff to mine here.
And because it's going to garner a real good heel heat as well, because there are British people who hate these sorts of stereotypes, and they're just going to be really annoyed that she sat in there with tea and all this sorts of nonsense. Hopefully some scones. And if they've got scones, they better have clotted cream on them if she wants to be truly authentic.
I hope WWE don't think that we will boo Carmella trashing the royal family. Because that isn't what will happen.
No, absolutely not. No.
Sometimes I think an American mindset might be, all the English people love the royal.
Is Paige telling them? Paige telling them this backstage.
They love the royal family, and really, I would argue the majority of us, my grandparents not included, are indifferent to hating.
Yeah, I'd say indifference is a really good, strong word. There are people who are very much into the royal family and sort of like, the rumours and innuendo that surround them. And
It's like how we're into backstage wrestling news.
Exactly. Some people are as passionate about the royal family and their relationships and their public appearances as we are about wrestling. And is this person going to defect to this company and what have you? Me personally, I mean, I'm just annoyed that it's falling on a Saturday this year because we don't get a bank holiday out of it. Which I just think was just really. I mean, they don't think of the little people.
They don't have to.
No, they don't have to. But I'm having a nice barbecue. Are you doing anything nice for the royal wedding?
When is it? Is it this Saturday or
no?
Next
It's next Saturday.
I don't have anything planned. But I just found out it was Eurovision. It's Eurovision this Saturday.
It is indeed.
Very much excited for that.
I know, because I'm on a pub crawl.
Are you really?
I'm on a pub crawl, and then I think we're going to go back and watch some Eurovision.
Oh, it's not a pub mackerel-themed Eurovision.
No, it just happens to fall on the same day.
That's unfortunate. I would have crashed it.
Do you remember when I went around to yours to watch Eurovision a couple of years ago?
Yes, well, that was after Comic-Con that year.
It was, yes, I remember.
Yeah, and we learnt how to do the pitch perfect
the cup thing. Yes, yeah, your housemate taught us that.
I love Eurovision.
Anyway, Ty Dillinger cut a cell phone promo about Money in the Bank. He's got a new haircut.
Good hair, I've written in my notes.
Good hair.
Yes.
And Naomi also cut a promo saying that if she says that she won the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal, which I genuinely forgot.
The WrestleMania one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually forgot that. And
WWE just make everything feel so special sometimes. Why can't they make those sorts of things feel special rather than the Miz Seth Rollins match?
Maybe. But so she said that people will feel the glow. Feel the glow at the moment is now turning into my Over the Moon. It's SmackDown's version of Over the Moon for me.
You're such a racist.
Such a racist. Next up we had Charlotte versus Peyton Royce in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. I really liked the Iconics promo when they came out to start off with.
Yeah.
I mean, shocker. I loved the Iconics cutting a promo.
They're always good. We've said this every week.
But this was particularly great because this was again them falling over themselves for their awful jokes. Billie Kay told a story about her Uncle Craig back in Sydney.
What is it with WWE and relative stories at the moment?
But this one at least feels like an actual made-up member of the family.
Yeah.
Whereas Bobby Lashley, those stories may not have happened, but those sisters do exist. But she told the story about her Uncle Craig, a man who has never had anything good really happen to him in his life. He's a man who was just always depressed. But he managed to find laughter while watching Backlash when Charlotte Flair lost, and they put the picture up on screen of Charlotte with a very sad face. And then Peyton Royce was like, oh, I can do an impression of this. She tried to do an impression, and Billie Kay was like, no, it's not as good as when Charlotte does it, which I really liked. I thought it was a really nice touch. It's only funny when Charlotte loses.
Unfortunately, the match wasn't good.
Yes, it wasn't as smooth as one might think it is. It was a little bit choreographed. But, you know,
a lot of chin locks.
I liked it to a degree. Some interference on the outside from Billie Kay. Charlotte did the moonsault, which Royce sort of got her knees up for. And then Charlotte sort of sold it, but then sort of didn't sell. But then a spear by Charlotte for a near fall, and she got the figure 8 in and won.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a good match. I didn't really enjoy it. But I like the stuff around it. Thank God Charlotte didn't cut a promo. I'm
who's
over
she going to make
promos.
magic with next?
Oh, Jesus. One of Bobby Lashley's sisters.
Backstage, Bryan talks about... Actually, I mean, do we want to talk about the Bobby Lashley thing? Because I feel like it's actually split opinion a little bit. There are a lot of people in the comments yesterday.
Were there?
There were a lot of people in the comments yesterday who were like, it's character building. It humanizes Bobby Lashley. It was actually a really good thing. I really liked the segment.
Where are those people? Well, I'm Googling on air. I'm going on to the comments for yesterday's WrestleRamble.
I'm saying, man, there were people there who do think that it was actually a decent promo, I think a lot of people were sort of confused us saying that it's him talking about his sisters is a bad thing over just how awfully scripted the whole thing was. That was more my issue with it. Than anything else. Actually, it's just a really odd presentation for Bobby Lashley.
The three sisters all sound like WrestleTalk crap gimmicks.
It's very true.
That's from Stoned Wolf.
Thank you very much, Stoned Wolf.
Bobby Lashley deserves better. He should go for the IC title. Who else thinks WWE signed Lashley just to bury him for his last run? I mean, that is interesting. Because of the whole Michael Hayes rumours and Bobby Lashley rumoured to have left on very bad terms with Hayes.
So funny there was a video for that.
Yeah. Someone should check that out. And now he's come back. Michael Hayes is still in a prominent position in the company. Maybe it's the old, let's bring him back and then bury him. And actually, whoever came up with Bobby Lashley promo needs to be fired ASAP. Imagine if they did this with Brock Lesnar when he came back. That's from Optimus.
No, when Brock Lesnar came back, they just had him lose to John Cena.
Caleb, creative team needs to change. They have ruined so many characters. So we've got Yo Uncle and Yo Daddy says the important thing about the Lashley segment was the video package. The video package was good,
It was excellent.
but the interview came... Well, it was okay. The interview part came afterwards.
Well, actually, I think
which is what you leave on.
I thought the video package did a better job of summing up to the new audience, who might not remember Bobby Lashley from 10 years ago, of who this lad is and why you should care. I thought it did a much better job there than him sitting down and being like, my sister had a blanket.
Everything is going to be better than that. I can not see a single positive thing.
I think if you go by newest first rather than top comments,
rather than the ones that most people agree with.
Well, I just said there are people in there, and there were people in there.
You said split.
Well, yeah, maybe.
No, it's all bad. I can't speed read this fast.
They are in there.
Hey, I like the Bobby Lashley skit.
See, I told you there was someone.
That's from Big Baby Zubas.
Yeah.
Blocked. Who else? Who else
going
wants to
on
get
a tear
blocked?
now?
Okay.
Right, anyway, we'll come
It
on.
was just that guy.
Yeah, okay, there were people who did like it. Actually, I saw some people make an argument. Someone say, WWE's aimed at 10-year-olds. Like, they have to do segments like this. I'm like, a 10-year-old's not going to care if he has a sister with a blanket. Anyway, Shelton Benjamin also cut a cell phone promo, and so did Asuka.
Oh, we missed out the Daniel Bryan.
Oh, yeah.
Bit. We already kind of covered it. He just did an interview backstage with Dasher, and he said that Cass only attacked him because Bryan made him tap out. Bryan mentions beating Big Show for the title, cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase in 2011 in Baltimore.
Yeah, nice.
Which is where we are right now.
Nice little touch, that. He also had a really nice line where he said, the bigger they are, the faster they tap, which was not true in the main event.
And they, yeah, he was kind of positioned near a spiral staircase doing some shadow boxing. That's where he did his interview. Just warming up near a staircase.
Xavier Woods then had the match that they set up earlier against Cesaro. Really nice spot here where Woods did like a wheelbarrow reversal into a facebuster, which was really, really cool.
The momentum really seemed to drive Cesaro's face into the mat.
Absolutely.
Like
yeah.
I like things where I'm like, I don't know how you didn't hurt yourself from that.
Yeah. And when you're like, oh man, I hope they show a replay of that so I could try and see how they just did what I just saw them do. Because it was like lightning quick of like flipping around. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, what was it? Sunset flip into a face plant thing.
Yeah,
it was
really
very
cool.
good.
Sheamus caused distraction a couple of times, and Kofi pushed like some Cesaro's feet was on the ropes. Sheamus caused another distraction, and then Biggie threw pancakes at him, and Kofi wants to do a big dive.
Elbow. Oh, no, yeah, Kofi.
Yeah, big dive. And then as Woods was setting up to do his springboard elbow, I loved this finish as well. As it came off the springboard, Cesaro just got up, boof, hit him with a massive uppercut, and got the pin off that. Loved that as a finish, because it felt like it was a finish from out of nowhere, as opposed to, I'm going to set you up now and do my finishing move.
Well, that really should be Cesaro's finisher. It's so good, it's impactful. You can hit it on anyone from out of nowhere. It always looks great, and you can sell it as a knockout spot. The days when he doesn't do this so much anymore, but where he would launch people up in the air off an Irish whip, and then when they came down, he'd clobber them with that uppercut.
During that one he did to John Cena, where they'd framed it so much that when he went up, John Cena went out of shot, and there were a lot of people doing like the, I must go now, my planet needs me.
Yes.
John Cena died on the way back to his home planet.
Yeah, really good. But I was excited for this match because I'm a big fan of both individual guys. It didn't really... It was fine. It wasn't the match that they did. They weren't given the match that they could have.
No, absolutely.
This was just a TV.
It was a TV match,
passing
but it was
encounter.
an excellent TV match.
It was a fine TV match.
I thought it was really good. I really liked it, and I really liked the finish as well. Backstage, Renee interviewed AJ Styles and his massive bruise from the chair shot. We didn't actually talk about the chair shot on our Backlash review, but when AJ threw the chair at Nakamura, it bounced off and hit him square in the cheek. And cut him open hard way, and it looked like it absolutely sucked. And now it's really grown into this massive bruise.
I bet that really hurt.
I bet that really hurt. Oh, I bet that hurt.
Like when people walk around with, I've got these big chop marks on my chest or thumbtacks in my back. I'm like, but that looks. I feel you there, AJ, with that cheekbone.
Imagine you're sleeping, because you have to sleep on the other side, obviously. But what if you roll over in the night, not realise, and then you wake up in the morning and go like, oh man, my face really aches now.
It's gonna wake you up. And 18's gonna be a problem.
Oh, yeah.
How depressing's this? Smiling might also be a problem.
Finn Balor could not suffer. He could not have this injury. He would not last.
AJ can't have fun right now because of his little bruisey boo-boo. Poor Styles.
But anyway, Styles said that he wants to also have a match with Nakamura, and he says he'll have any sort of match at any time and any place, because while he is the king of strong style, It's the house that AJ Styles built.
I want to hear what you have to say on this next segment.
Right. Okay. So the camera cut to this sort of like ominous music and sounds, and like little girls going like and like making like scary noises. Like
Didn't see them.
Like, you don't see them because it's meant to be like a Nightmare on Elm Street style movie, and they're in this sort of like orange boiler room place thing, and they start panning across all of these WWE action figures that have been burnt and melted, including one of them, which was Biggie holding the head of Kofi Kingston, and like it's all melted. And they panned across, and the Galanderson were all melted, and the bar were all melted, and the Usos hats were all torn up because I guess they don't have action figures at the moment. And then it panned up, and the Bludgeon Brothers were standing there with their cool looking masks on, and the music was all ominous, and the girls giggling was really creepy, and I thought, what a really effective segment. And then they took their masks off and said some words, and I was like, nope, that's very hokey.
They said, come play with us.
Yeah, we've got toys of our own, come play with us. And I was like, oh man, you were so close to having that right then.
And then smash the camera.
Yeah.
I did not mind this, actually. I thought it was, if you've got this gimmick, I don't see why this is the step too far.
I just thought everything in the presentation previously was fine. It was just the line didn't work for me. But
I quite like come play with us.
Yeah, but I didn't hate it. Absolutely, I didn't hate it.
I mean, like, if I was doing this, if I was in charge of WWE, I would have found some way to make this some kind of advert, just to shift more action figures.
Yeah,
I don't
WWE
know
elite
how.
sponsors. You
know
can
how,
burn
though.
them and be scary like these guys. It did make me think though that of those, that was essentially they'd burnt the entire tag team division, despite the fact they've not beaten Galanderson on TV.
Oh yeah, they haven't been around. Have they?
No, they had that one segment with AJ Styles and haven't been seen since.
Oh, it's still recovering from the bullet he took. Carl Anderson.
Yes.
And the next segment, also excited to hear your thoughts on.
Oh wait, hang on, I haven't finished my point yet.
Oh, okay.
There was one team that they didn't have within their action figure segment, maybe because they also don't have action figures. Sanity. So maybe that's like they were essentially laying out an open challenge for the tag team division. This could be your debut of Sanity straight into a tag team title program.
Oh, I don't know if that's the right way to do them. Like, straight into a title feud. They're a 3-man faction. A starter feud with New Day. Because if you immediately go for Sanity versus Bludgeon Brothers, two quite similar gimmicks, you're going to have to beat one of them eventually. So why would you do that? Bludgeon Brothers shouldn't be beaten or lose the title anytime soon. They only just won it a month ago. And Sanity should have a good unbeaten run to kick things off. Yep. And that's the sort of thing where you can keep these two factions side by side, far away from each other, ships passing in the night, and you build to something maybe at SummerSlam.
I would argue they're not similar gimmicks, but yeah, I see your point.
Well, compared to everyone else's, they do fit within a creepy, grungy... That there are similarities. They are in...
They have beards.
Yeah, they have beards. There you go.
Yeah. So we backstage we saw Mandy Rose was getting ready for her match with Becky Lynch, with Sonya Deville by her side. And then, I mean, the way that this was framed and the way this was shot, Mandy Rose was like, cool, I'm going to have a match now. And Sonya Deville went, sweet, off you pop. And then Paige walked in, and she was like, guys, I told you, Absolution's dead. And they were like, yeah, as a 3 unit, but we're a tag team, we're sticking together. And Paige said, well, actually, Sonya Deville, you are barred from ringside. I was like, well, I don't think she was going to ringside with her anyway, but fair enough, she was pretty peeved about it. And then we got Becky Lynch versus Mandy Rose in a match that had a longer introduction for Mandy Rose than an actual match itself. I think you want to talk about Mandy Rose's entrance more than anything.
No, I don't really care. I was only saying that to rile you up.
Because
Becky lost quite quickly. Corey Graves certainly enjoyed the entrance.
Oh yeah, he's like playing his inner Jerry Lawler was Corey Graves, because he didn't want people talking over Mandy Rose making an entrance, because it's hard to concentrate on masturbating when you've got Byron Saxton in your ears talking about something else.
Got to focus on that
Mellabration. You've got to focus on something else.
I love Corey. I think he's been superb in recent months, but maybe it's just because I feel a bit frustrated with WWE overall at the moment. He's gone on my nerves a bit this week. and at Backlash.
Is it just the Rollins-Miz thing?
It's
a combination of things.
It's the Wyatt, the Woken Wyatt stuff as well. Him bickering with Cole, the Elias stuff. Here, I get what he was trying to do, but it irked me where usually it wouldn't.
I think the best thing for Corey really would be being on one show. I think him being across both shows has really harmed Corey in some way because then he has to commentate on every single match on pay-per-view as well. And like at WrestleMania, he was in every single match. And I just feel that when you hear the same voice all the time, sharing the same opinions, it can get slightly grating. And I think a replacement for Corey Graves on SmackDown would benefit Corey.
Yeah, you do. It has to be a good replacement though, because I would much prefer Corey Graves over a lot of the other announcing talent they have.
Well, absolutely, yeah, but Nigel.
Yes, Nigel or Morrow, of course.
Yeah. But anyway, so Paige told Baby Girl that she's not allowed to go to ringside. And then Mandy Rose did make her very, very long and elaborate entrance, it's so long, she can't keep doing this every week. And the music is pretty horrendous.
Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon were like, this is it, this is the star. Okay, Roman Reigns hasn't worked, but this one, surely. She's blonde, she's beautiful. People are going to love her right away, right? Different time, guys.
Yeah,
but anyway, to be able to wrestle.
I was going to say they sort of had a match. I mean, I've written here Rose doesn't really do a move, but stacks Becky up anyway and wins.
Very short.
I think Todd said that Becky she necked herself on the top rope when she came off the kick because she did like her little springboard kick thing that she does, and apparently Rose pushed her and she necked herself, and that's what she got pinned off. But I'm pretty sure Becky just landed fine on her feet and then got rolled up.
Yeah, it was lame. It was lame. It was a lame match, and it was a lame finish because Becky Lynch has so much more mileage than Mandy Rose does as a promo and as a wrestler.
But the storyline they are telling with Becky Lynch is that she needs to rebuild her character because she has been treading water now for 18 months and she hasn't done anything. So it's these sort of losses that she needs to be like, oh, I need to do something with myself. You know, when she lost, when she was teaming with Asuka, it's all building up from these sorts of things. So actually, her losing to Mandy Rose doesn't bother me because it's a storyline thing that they're doing as opposed to they're just burying Becky Lynch because they want to get Mandy Rose over.
Okay, well, I guess so. I don't feel like that story was told well then.
Certainly not with that finish.
In this episode. So Mandy's entrance.
We should go back to that.
So they've done the old. I don't know if this was just my feed that I was watching it on, but they have done the old blur the edges trick, like where you would smudge Vaseline on a camera back in the 40s and 30s to make women appear more attractive. Sort of gets over the wrinkles and stuff.
I'm not saying they didn't do it, but I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's like her in the centre, she was in focus, but the peripheral bits were smudged. Of course, it draws the eye towards the focus part, and it does harken back to those classical Hollywood cinema shots of the dames of that era.
My only note I already had about her entrance was like, get on with it. For God's
sake,
just get to the ring. She walks, stops. Like, just get on with it, lad.
And the music, you said, is pretty generic pop music, but bad.
It's like Kelly's entrance music, which is among one of the worst themes ever.
Oh God! I got a Pavlovian sort of contort there.
Or Eve Torres' music was awful as well. That was really bad. That was just like dreadful shite.
But then after, I don't know, 20 minutes, it seemed, of her entrance, Lana's saxophone kicks in.
Yeah,
it's just a bit weird.
I was going to say, now that Lana's not doing any wrestling anymore, they were like, well, we've got this music and we've got this gimmick, let's just give it to Mandy Rose instead.
It wasn't the exact same.
No,
it was the same instrument, so I can say that. Yeah, so pretty rubbish.
Pretty rubbish. Andrade Cien Almas is making his debut on SmackDown Live next week. They announced that 3 things that are happening on SmackDown Live next week. We're getting the Almas debut. As I've noted in the SmackDown review, Jeff Hardy currently doesn't have a feud at the moment, so that's something you can easily slot yourself into. We are getting the Royal Mellabration, and the New Day and the Bar are taking each other on in a tag team match.
That could be great.
And the winner gets to choose a member of their team to go into Money in the Bank.
Ah, cool. I missed that. That's a cool stipulation.
It's a cool stipulation, yeah.
Because that, that might... The New Day will be fine, but surely both Sheamus and Cesaro will want that spot if they win.
Exactly. So maybe that does tie into what you were saying earlier about this perhaps what's the word I'm after? Dissension. Thank you. And he said detention. Dissension in the ranks between the two.
But let's be honest, it's going to be Kofi.
Oh,
because it's a ladder match.
Yeah, if New Day win, Kofi is going into it.
Which is a shame, because I love Xavier Woods. He's had two pretty decent matches in the last 2 weeks. And I think he could be, like how we were talking about how Chad Gable could be Raw's underdog guy to hopefully make a star in the men's Money in the Bank match. Xavier could be that breakout star from SmackDown's side.
I absolutely agree. But our main event was another Money in the Bank qualifying match. Much like Raw, a lot of the matches, in fact, all the matches, kind of had these Money in the Bank connotations. And if they weren't Money in the Bank qualifiers, it was like, we need to do something to impress the GM so we can get a Money in the Bank qualifying match and all the promos and etc. The only thing they did that was different was the AJ Nakamura stuff. That was the only thing that wasn't Money in the Bank specific match, at least. Pay-per-view, different. So the main event was Daniel Bryan versus Rusev in a qualifying match. I thought this was another really decent main event.
I thought it was
really good. Really enjoyed this, because do you know who's amazing? Daniel Bryan. Like, he's just great. So good. So fun to watch.
I've written here in my notes, it was like 3-4 minutes into the match, and sometimes I forget because it's been a month now, and then just 4 minutes in it, I remembered Bryan's wrestling again. This is so great. I've missed him so much. I love him. And just the way he moves, just seeing him wrestle makes me happy. So that's very supremely cool.
Completely agree. So this did go through a commercial break, but there's some really, really nice spots in this. And as we said, Rusev had sort of hurt his wrist earlier in the match. He couldn't quite lock in the accolade, which Bryan then transitioned into a yes lock, but he was too close to the ropes. So Rusev rolled to the outside, and Bryan did a drop kick through the ropes onto both men. And then it did a huge running knee off the apron, which looked absolutely awesome. Then his awesome top rope drop kick. He sets up for the knee again, but Rusev just powers him up with a knee of his own, and then hit the match kick and won. When it finished, really did come out of nowhere.
Well, Bryan was selling his ribs slightly, wasn't he, after that top rope drop kick? And that was, in my head, that was feeling the effects of the Big Cass beatdown that wasn't substantial enough to... considering everything else that's happened in WWE in recent months, like, you need a bit more of a beatdown for someone to sell it 2 days afterwards.
I was going to say, remember when people were getting like stretcher jobs and then coming out on Raw the next week? Absolutely fine and dandy.
Very frustrating.
I thought it was a really good match. The finish just came out of nowhere and truly surprised me.
Yeah, really shocking. So overall, I like most SmackDowns recently, I really enjoyed this show.
Yeah.
And the one, I know there were a few, all the women's stuff was duds, I thought, but all the men's stuff was really, really good. And I'm very intrigued about Bryan and Rusev. Not Rusev, but where Bryan goes from here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and an interesting choices from SmackDown. You got Miz and Rusev now in the Money in the Bank match, and perhaps one member of the New Day, or either Sheamus and Cesaro. I'd imagine it'll probably be the New Day, and you're right, it's probably going to be Kofi Kingston.
Yeah, it's not like the top tier stars, which is good. Like you kind of want to Money in the Bank to make new stars, and yeah, shocking that Jeff Hardy isn't in a ladder match.
No, well, I imagine he's either going into a feud with Andrade, Cien, Almas, that's my hope, or his feud with Randy Orton must continue.
The Almas debut next week is very interesting because London, smarter crowd, should get a huge reaction.
He will get a massive pop, and I imagine he's going to get absolute... I mean, he's a man with... well, certainly with one 5-star match to his name this year alone, and I think his Aleister Black one was 4.5. I think if it wasn't 5, I'm not sure, but yeah, so he's coming off back of a very good 2018 thus far.
He was a great champion in NXT.
Certainly was.
WWE must be have high hopes for the guy if they're saving his debut for somewhere where hopefully he'll get an even bigger reaction. I mean, it'll be a huge babyface reaction, I presume. And he's a heel.
Yeah.
So, oh God, maybe they'll just tease it and say, no, we're not doing it.
The heat you get though, that'd be quite good. I'd kind of like that.
Yeah, but we might be there, so I want
to see him.
Yeah, I don't want to be worked. brother. So what did you give this
I
out
gave
of
it
5?
Smacktastic. I thought it was a wrestling-heavy show. I thought it told a really nice story throughout the show, all built around Money in the Bank and the importance of winning Money in the Bank. More importantly, and how you want to be in that ladder match because you can become a champion. Todd Phillips said that 16 out of the 19 people who've won Money in the Bank have won championships off the back of it. So that's a really, really important thing to have. And so I like that aspect of it.
Who are the failed cash-ins? Damien Sandow,
Baron Corbin,
and
Cena.
Oh, did Cena not do one?
Yes, well, no, yes, Cena cashed in, but he cashed his in saying, I will have a match with
Yes.
you at this point, and then he lost that match. I think it was against Punk.
What was your bottom SmackDown review this week?
Bobby Lashley face.
Yes, great. I was hoping. Bobby Lashley and his 3 sisters. I would give this a pretty solid smack bang in the middle.
I think smack bang in the middle seems unfair, only because I really like the main event. Well, personally, I really like the main event and I really like the opener. And I thought all the stuff in the middle was all nothing in the show was demonstrously bad.
I'd say the Mandy Rose Becky Lynch stuff was.
No, but I like the Becky Lynch storyline. And I could see that they did that as it's furthering on a story. So that
well, I'm only saying it's smack bang. I'm not saying it's like a bad show.
No, but
it's smack bang in the middle. I liked the wrestling, but it was fine TV wrestling for me. It wasn't like a standout match that we'll be talking about a few weeks down the line, like a Rollins on Raw match.
Yeah,
and the women's stuff was pretty garbage, I thought. So yeah, smack bang in the middle. It's an average show.
That's
but
fine,
that's
say,
good for WWE. It was an enjoyably average show.
I was going to say, smack bang in the middle for me is it's fine.
Yeah.
It was fine, but I thought this was more than fine.
Cool. Well, that's all we've got time for on today's show. Please click the videos that have just appeared on our laps to catch up with the latest WrestleTalk videos. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and, maybe check out this podcast link where you can listen to this show in podcast form, which has exclusive intros and outros. It's all free. I've been Ollie Davis, this has been Luke Owen, and that was Rambling.